This happened in 2016, back when I was in 5th grade. If you remember that year, you probably remember all the killer clown sightings that were happening around the country. At the time, it was all over the news and social media. Most adults thought it was just some dumb trend or prank, but for young kids, it was actually pretty scary. It was a normal day at school. I went to an elementary school in a quiet suburban area where I still live. Nothing weird ever really happens here. It was around 1 p.m. I'm guessing, because it was closer to the end of the school day. We were in class working on some random assignment, and the classroom was quiet except for a few people whispering. Then, one of the students in my class suddenly said out loud, "There's a clown outside." I still remember her high-pitched voice as she said it. Some of us stood up and looked toward the window, and yeah, there really was a clown outside. He was standing just a few feet away from the window, facing our classroom directly. He was wearing a baggy, dirty red and yellow clown suit and had white face paint with black around the eyes. He was smiling and staring in at us with this big fake grin. After a few seconds, he started waving slowly. Some of the kids thought it was funny and laughed. Others were clearly freaked out. Our teacher, Mrs. Riker, walked over to the window, looked at the guy for a second, and then said through the glass, loud and annoyed, "Excuse me, classes are in session, you need to get out of here." The clown didn't react at all. He just kept standing there, smiling and waving. Mrs. Riker told us all to sit back down and said she was calling the front office. She picked up the corded classroom phone and then walked into the hallway with it and spoke quietly. The phones in the classrooms were always next to the door, so that's how she was able to walk outside the room with it. She came back in moments later and then hung up. She walked over to the window and shut all the blinds after she saw that the man in the clown costume was still there, doing the same creepy waving motion, smiling, and general clownish mannerisms. Not even 2 minutes later, the principal's voice came over the loudspeaker. "Staff, please get your classrooms into lockdown formation." There was a sense of urgency in the voice that, looking back, was probably to alert the teachers that it wasn't a drill without causing all the kids to go into a panic. That's when it got serious. Mrs. Riker rushed to turn off the lights and told us all to get under our desks. She pulled the door shut and locked it. Everyone was quiet. Some kids were giggling, but others looked scared. I was definitely scared. We stayed like that for what felt like forever, but it was actually about 30 minutes. Nobody knew what was happening, but eventually, the principal came back on the loudspeaker and said the lockdown was over and that the situation had been handled. Apparently, school security had confirmed that the clown was gone. They didn't tell us anything else. Classes went on like normal for the rest of the day. It felt weird. Everyone was talking about it during dismissal, but the teachers didn't say much. Then, after school, I was walking home with my friend Chris. We lived in the same neighborhood, just a few blocks away. While we were walking, a couple of 5th grade girls behind us suddenly ran past us, looking panicked. One of them said, "There's someone in the woods." We stopped and turned around. Behind the school, there's a small patch of trees. It's not deep woods or anything, just enough to separate the school from the street behind it. And standing just barely out of view, near the edge of the woods, was the clown again. Same dirty outfit, same painted face. He was half hidden by the trees, but he was clearly waving, and he wasn't just waving at random. He was doing it slowly, directly at the girls who had just passed us, like he was trying to call them over. Chris and I didn't say anything. We just ran. I don't know what happened after that, but I told my parents as soon as I got home. They called the school, and later I heard from another kid that the police were called again and patrolled the area, but they never found anyone. To this day, nobody knows who that guy was, and I don't know if he was just trying to scare some kids or if he were planning something worse. But what freaks me out the most is that he came back after the lockdown, and he waited, hidden in the trees, watching kids go home.
This is a 100% true story that happened to a woman in Madison, Wisconsin. Now, there was this woman named Sherry who moved into this house with her 2 children in Madison, Wisconsin. Now, she said, at the time she didn't believe in anything supernatural. She really thought that was a bunch of nonsense. But she said, right away when they moved in, she would notice, out of the corner of her eye, sometimes shadows moving across the walls. She would hear strange noises that she couldn't explain. But she said for the most part, it was just a normal house. One night, she's upstairs in her bedroom and she's folding laundry. She hears talking coming from her son's room. So she makes her way over to his room. The door's closed. And she hears her son having a full-on conversation with someone. And she's like, who is he talking to, at 12:30 at night? So she opens the door, and when she looks in his room, he is not in his bed. So she starts yelling for him. She looks down and sees him next to the side of his bed, on his knees, crouched down, with his head under the bed, talking to someone. And she's like, hey, who are you talking to? Like, who's under there? And her son's like, I can't tell you. And she said, what do you mean you can't tell me? Like, who's under the bed? And he's like, I can't say. He'll get mad. And she's like, what? Who's under there? So she runs over to the bed and she looks underneath there. It's empty. There's nothing under there. So she's like, you know what? Just get back in bed. Like, just stop, doing whatever you're doing. Several weeks pass, and on a regular basis, she keeps finding her son talking to someone under the bed, except there's no one there. So after a few weeks of this happening, she thinks maybe something is wrong with her son. So she takes him to this child therapist. The therapist assesses him and says, he seems completely fine. It's probably just his imagination. So several months pass and he keeps on doing this. Well, one day she's sitting down in the living room with him and they're talking when she notices he has some scratches and bruises all over his body. And she's like, where did you get those scratches and bruises from? What's going on? And he's like, I can't say, I can't tell you. And she's like, yes, you have to tell me, what is going on with you? And finally he breaks down and he starts crying and stuff. And he just starts freaking out. And then he runs up to his room. So the mom, at this time is like, I don't know what to do. What is going on with my son? She's just panicking. Later that night, she's awoken to her son screaming in his bedroom. She runs as fast as she can. She goes in his room. She finds him halfway underneath the bed. He's grabbing onto the bed frame, and it looks like something is pulling him under the bed. So she immediately grabs him, pulls him out from under the bed. She looks under there. There's no one there. So she's like, you know what? This is weird. You're sleeping with me tonight. You're going to be in bed with me tonight. So they go back to her bedroom. He lays down. He falls asleep. She's sitting in bed. She can't sleep. She's freaked out about this whole situation. When all of a sudden she hears, shh, hey, come under the bed. And she's like, what? She looks over. Her son is sleeping. But then once again she hears, hey, come here under the bed. I need to talk to you. And it's a man's voice. And she's like, no, who are you? Go away. And the man's like, come on, get under the bed. I need to tell you something. And she's like, no, I'm not going under the bed. And she said this man, whoever he was, just started yelling obscenities and getting really angry. So she grabs her son. They get out of the house. And she said she left that night and never went back. And still to this day, that house sits there. And she said she's talked to the neighbors. And they said since she's moved, several families have lived there and they move out immediately.
Scary story time while I reactivate this slime. Oh my gosh. I get my money's worth, so get yours. Yeah. It just looks like I put a whole bunch of glue all over the table, bro. Ghost in the Backyard edition. So this happened when I was in elementary school. I was definitely a little kid, and I remember I was in my room at the time, and I was doing something with my sisters. I cannot remember, but I was at my dad's house. And I remember that room always gave me the heebie-jeebies at nighttime because it was just creepy. I don't know. But I loved being in it in the daytime because of the windows, right? The way this room was kind of set up was that I can see kind of half of the front yard and then the backyard, right? I can see that. Now, I remember like minding my business with my siblings and then seeing like a man walking along the sidewalks in front of the house. Now, this man kind of had his head down and he looked like he was minding his business. So I'm not thinking it's a big deal. Time goes on, my sisters go to their room, and I completely forgot that this man walked by, right? I'm chilling next to my window, and next thing you know, I see this same man that I seen earlier in my backyard walking around my dad's garden just like in circles. Just he did like 2 or 3 times. I'm looking at this man, like full on staring at him. He doesn't make eye contact with me once, and then I see him like kind of walk in the direction where my window is to kind of hide behind our playhouse. When he ducked behind like the playhouse, I ducked too. So I duck and I'm like kind of peeking over my bed through my window. I see him get up, make direct eye contact with my window, walk into like this corner where this like old tree was, and he's just there. He's out of my view. So I immediately run to my dad. I'm like, Dad, there's a creepy man in our backyard. Like, you gotta get him. Like, he's creepy. He was just in our backyard. So obviously concerned, he gets up, he goes to the backyard, he checks all the places where I tell him to check, and he's like, look, there's nobody back here. Like, what are you on? Like, there's no one back here. And I'm like, no, there is. Like, he went behind this way, like that, just tripping off of it. I know some people are gonna be like, okay, where's the scary part? Like, this is not scary, y'all. To describe my old house and its backyard, we had this huge fence that like you couldn't climb up unless you had some type of assistance. You needed assistance to climb this wall. So everybody's looking at me like I'm crazy because what are you talking about? Like, there's nobody back here. And I'm just trying to like explain myself, like, I promise I'm not crazy. Like, I'm not making this up. I'm not gonna say they didn't believe me, but I feel like they definitely thought I was tripping. I remember in that same night, I seen this man standing by my bay window, and I was terrified, and I hardly ever slept in that room again. So that's the scary part, and no one believed me. And I know a lot of y'all don't believe my story times, but I couldn't make this up, y'all. Like, that man was in my backyard, and I seen him. Like, I can still remember every detail about this man to this day. Bye.
Can we show him the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know.
No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
It went to both.
Yeah.
It's been almost a year, so I think I'm safe to tell the story now. Flashback to February, Valentine's Day, last year, 2025. Actually, a couple weeks before, we'll say. There's this dude, and he is like lingering around me in the gym. Normal, creepy dude staring, can't really do anything about it situation, okay? I noticed him being really weird and doing this maybe like 3 or 4 times within the span of a couple weeks up until Valentine's Day. And then Valentine's Day, I went to the gym. I finished my workout, I go to the locker rooms, I come out to leave, and this kid is standing there waiting for me. He's not a kid, he's a grown man. And he's very shy, very awkward, very nervous, like, hey, I was just wondering, like, if you would want to go and get dinner with me tonight. Say what you want about me bringing this up, but I feel like it's important. In that moment, when I like finally got to speak to him face to face and see him up close, I thought that he might have been special needs of some sort. So my brain, my first thought wasn't immediately go to be mean to him and, like, to make him fuck off. So I just very nicely was like, I have a boyfriend. Thank you for asking though. And I was like, have a good day. He said, have a good day. And just like stood there and smiled creepily at me and didn't move and say anything. So I kind of had to like step around him and walk away and leave. And over the course of the next month and a half, it progressively got like creepier. He would linger around me more, like low-key follow me around, hardcore stare at me every single day. And then he proceeded to wait by the lockers after I was done working out. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. 4 more times to ask me out on a date with him. And I told him no every single time. Progressively, I got more and more mean because now I'm just like, leave me alone. The final straw was I was there, it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. It was me and like a couple other dudes in the gym. I'm like the only girl that goes to my gym. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. The day before, I had rejected him for the 4th time. And it was, mind you, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I was getting the heebie-jeebies. He was freaking me out. He was staring me down, whatever. I go to the locker room to leave. I'm walking back out of the locker room. I'm expecting him to be standing there, waiting for me to say something to me. He's not there. I'm looking around the gym. He's not there. I'm like, okay, maybe we're in the clear. I walk outside, and who's sitting outside on the bench, outside in the dark, waiting for me? So I just wasn't gonna acknowledge him, wasn't gonna do anything, pretend he wasn't there. So I started walking really fast past him, and he stands up and he goes, "Hey, excuse me," and I immediately turned around, walked right back inside, looked behind me after I got inside, and saw that he sat right back down where he was sitting. Heart rate was immediately through the roof. I felt so unsafe. I beelined it for like one of the biggest dude I could find in the gym at the time. Just explained the situation to him, and he was awesome. He like without hesitation got up and came with me. And walked me out to my car, and we walked right by the guy, and of course he had nothing to say when I walked out there with the dude. But yeah, that was truly frightening, and I still think about it sometimes when I go lifting at night. It's also not the first time that I've had like a weird like stalker experience at the gym. That's kind of part of the reason why I left my last gym. I don't know if I ever told that story, because that was also really creepy. So if you guys want to hear that one, let me know. Love you, bye.
You heard of the elevator game? If you've ever played scary games as a kid, you might have come across the elevator game. We all know Bloody Mary, Charlie Charlie. It's a very similar game to those. When I was a kid, I was always horrified of elevators. I was scared they were gonna fall. I was scared that I was gonna get locked in. I was scared that they were gonna shoot out of the ceiling like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. It was a real fear of mine. And then one day, me and my friends were on the internet and we were looking at scary games, and we stumbled across the elevator game. I'm gonna tell you guys the rules of the elevator game, but under no circumstances can you try this game. Me and my friends read the rules. Rule number 1, you have to go into an elevator of your choosing completely alone. Number 2, the elevator has to have at least 13 floors. Then you press the button for floor number 7. Then you press the button to the 4th floor and then the 8th floor. And you have to push all of these buttons in order, but the order is 7, 4, 8, 2, 5, 1, 6, 9. Then at some point, a woman will get on the elevator. When she does, do not talk to her, do not even look at her. And then supposedly, if you do this game right and you don't look at the woman, then the next time the doors open, you'll be in a whole nother world, completely alone. When me and my friends heard that, we're like, we've got to play this game. The whole world just to us? That's awesome. We decided that we had to play, so we headed to the nearest hotel, and then we had to decide who to send in. We decided to draw straws to see who would go. So we all, one by one, picked a straw. And lo and behold, I picked the shortest one.
This is an emergency call. There is a woman following behind me, and I think she might be trying to kill me. I was just at Chuck E. Cheese Pizza getting a couple pepperoni slices, and she walks into the bathroom as I was taking a pee, and she says, "Were you having pepperoni pizza?" I said, "Yes, I was. What are you doing in here?" And she goes, "That's my absolute favorite. Why don't you go out to McDonald's with me, get a McFlurry, and we can see where the devil has his playground." And I go, "I've got Thanksgiving dinner at my Aunt Rebecca's right now." And then I just got so mad because I realized it's New Year's Eve, not Thanksgiving. I knew she wouldn't buy it. And so I just go, "Excuse me, I have to leave now." And she just keeps following me and snorting. And it's just really, really nerve-wracking because I think she might be trying to kill me. I saw her take a bunch of plastic sporks from that Chuck E. Cheese. She's speaking some kind of gibberish back there. And I go, "What is that?" And she says it's French. I said, "I haven't heard a single "we" said once." Oh, God. Somebody please check in on me in about 24 hours. If I don't respond, please call the authorities. I don't know what road I'm on. It's tree-lined and there are lights.
Remember how I be telling y'all, if you hear somebody knocking on your door or you hear somebody's voice but no one is home, never open the door? Scary story time. And this story this time is actually not my dad's story, it's my friend's story. She's also Haitian and she wanted to share her story with you guys. So when her family was supposed to come to this country, coming from Haiti, they kept it a secret. And this is actually a common thing because even with me too, when I was coming, it was an absolute secret. Nobody knew but me, my dad, and my grandma, and my uncle. And my uncle was a pastor. Well, is a pastor. But the reason for that is people are jealous and people will do anything to stop you from where you need to be. When they see you prospering and it's not them, I've seen it happen so many times in Haiti. Anyway, so that was the case for her and her family. At the time, it was her and her brother. And when I tell y'all, it was an absolute secret. Nobody knew they were coming to America but the people living in their house. It was literally top secret, which is why it was shocking to her mom when she got a phone call from a church member. Mind y'all, they weren't even that close. Like that church member, it's not like they were like best friends. It was just somebody they went to church with, and she actually lived very far too. Now, there was this lady that they knew that everybody knew was a lugau, but it wasn't their business, you feel me? Like that's the lady's problem. That's her, she do her. Anyway, so the mom gets a phone call from the church member, and the church member tells her mom, I had a dream and I know that you guys are leaving. You guys are going to America, but so-and-so, the lady that's a lugau, does not like that. And she has something planned for y'all so that it does not happen. Mind y'all, they don't even know how the lugau lady found out that they're leaving. But I mean, you know, lugau. The church member tells her from her dream that she was told to tell her mom these instructions. First one is, of course, make sure that nobody else finds out. The second one was there was this uniform they used to wear to church for Saturday services. She tells them to keep that uniform and all of their clothes that they're going to wear until the day that they leave, and make sure that nobody touches those clothes. And the last thing that she told her to do was that the car that was supposed to transport them to the airport, change it. Absolutely change it. So they did all of that. They prayed, they followed directions and stuff like that, and everything worked out well. They got here thinking it was over, but whoo, was it far from over.
Today's story is going to be physically uncomfortable to listen to, and at the end of the story, I'm going to show you a video that is highly distressing. So viewer discretion is advised. But before we get into today's story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So if that's of interest to you, please encourage the like button to join the official Mr. Ballin Discord server, but secretly manipulate their account so that no matter how engaged they are on the server, they can't level up. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story. At 4 a.m. on February 25th, 2022, a 36-year-old father of three named Christopher Boudram woke up inside of his modest home in Pointe-à-Pierre, which is a city on the Caribbean island of Trinidad and Tobago. After quietly getting out of his bed so as not to wake up his wife, who was still asleep, Christopher walked into the other room and did his typical morning exercise routine, and then afterward, he made himself some breakfast in the kitchen, and by 5:30 a.m., he was out his front door, into his car, making the commute to work. Christopher was a professional scuba diver, and he had been for over 10 years. Commercial diving is a very broad field to work in, but generally it meant that Christopher was paid to do various tasks underwater, things like inspections or welding or just moving equipment around. For the last 8 months, Christopher had been fortunate enough to be working for a company that was located just 2 minutes' drive from his house. It was an oil and gas company called Perea Fuel. And Christopher's duties at Perea Fuel centered primarily on the upkeep and maintenance of several of these underwater pipelines that Perea Fuel used to get the oil off of their ships and onto land where it could be processed. These underwater pipelines, of which Perea had at least 6, were basically U-shaped. They had these 2 vertical sections on either end that would jut out of the water. And then connecting these 2 vertical sections was a 1,200-foot long section of pipe that ran along the seabed at roughly 60 feet below the surface. And so one of these vertical sections was out at sea, so 1,200 feet off the coast, and ships would literally come by this opening to the pipe that was out of the water, and they would dump their oil into this opening. The oil would go down, it would shoot across this long horizontal section, and then go up the other vertical section, much closer to shore, where workers could collect the oil and bring it onto land to be processed. So on this particular day in February of 2022, when Christopher arrived at Korea Fuel, he was not surprised at all to find out that he and his diving colleagues would be doing some maintenance on one of these underwater pipelines. However, there was something unique about the particular pipeline.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen. Did the window break?
Here is a horror story that happened to me and my best friend. If you don't believe in paranormal activity, just scroll because I'm not going to argue with you guys in the comments. So basically, for a little bit of background information, every single time my best friend comes over, no matter the weather or anything, we usually watch a scary movie and then go for a walk. Don't ask why, that's just what we like to do, and usually there's like Taco Bell or some food in there too, but that's just what we do. We were like, let's go for a walk. Now, where we chose to go for a walk might have been where the part where we messed up, but we always go back here. Like, I go back here with my other friends. Like, usually it's fine. I've had 1 or 2 experiences back there, but that's for another time. Basically, it's like houses lined up, and behind their house and behind their backyard is like a small pathway where you can walk. And the pathway leads to train tracks and like a park. It's not even like a park. It just has swings and this huge slide. That's it. So I think it's like dead summer, and we immediately walk outside and a huge cold breeze just smacks me in the face. And I specifically remember that because right after that, I just got this bad like tension in my body that I didn't like at all. And I kind of like brushed it off just because I wanted to go for a walk. Like, I was bored. So like I didn't say anything, but she was feeling the same exact thing. And I figured that out after this happened. So maybe we both should have just spoke up, but whatever. Since we were both feeling a little like scared and, you know, tensed up, Aubrey started telling me a story, and I don't know what it was about. I think it was like this girl stealing someone's boyfriend. I don't know, it doesn't really matter, but the most important part is when she was telling the story, she specifically said they were saying this girl had a weird face. And I don't know if this was actually what happened, but in my head, she kept repeating it. She kept saying, this girl had a really weird face. Again, I don't know if she was actually repeating that or if that's just the thing that stuck out to me. But in my head, she said that 10 times. She was just like, she had such a weird looking face. Like, Megan, it looked so weird. It's like, I don't know. That's just like the only thing I remember her saying. And then she said something about like it looking like disformed. And I was like, all right, okay, let's stop. I was like, all right, let's stop, because I got this god awful looking scary girl in my head and I could not get it out. Specifically remember a huge ass cold breeze smacking my face again, and that's when I was like, oh my fucking god, my body like tensed up. I got like the chills, and I wanted to say, Aubrey, we need to turn back, we need to go back. Like, something in my head was saying go back, go back, go back, go back. And we kept walking. Just because sometimes I don't know if it's just because I'm being a pussy or if it's my body actually telling me go the fuck back. So I was like, okay, maybe you're just scared, keep walking. So we kept walking. Okay, I'm getting kind of scared because my room's in the basement and like the door's right there. I don't like, it's like too quiet right now. It's okay. We're walking and we hear 2 branches crack behind us, and I'm like, I shoot my head back and I'm like, did you hear that? And she's like, yeah. I was like, it's fine, Aubrey, just keep walking. So we keep walking and we hear more movement behind us, not trees like or branches cracking, like more like just like movement, like kind of like bushes moving. And I was like, bro, do you hear that or am I tripping? And she's like, no, I hear it, Megan. So I'm like, okay, whatever, just stay calm. And then it happened the 3rd time and we bolted. Like, we didn't even see anything at this time, we just ran, right? Aubrey was a little ahead of me because the thing is like anytime anything like this happens, I like when everyone's in front of me just so I can like make sure everyone's there. And right behind Aubrey, and you guys saying this, I know you guys are not going to believe me, but you please believe me because I'm not lying. Like, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, not lying. And I was almost throwing up and crying after this, like, genuinely. So standing behind Aubrey, well, chasing Aubrey actually, is this tall black man with a long stretched out face. He didn't really have a face. He just had like a long mouth and like long eyes, kind of like that, all black body. And he was like hovering over Aubrey, because it's like he was right there. He could have like got Aubrey if he wanted to, but he was just like kind of pacing, like this was Aubrey and this was him, and he was just like kind of pacing with her, if that makes sense. And I'm just like running, like I'm running basically next to it, and I'm just like looking up at it. Like I didn't say anything, like I didn't. So we get to one of like the houses, because like I said, we're a pathway behind houses. So we come out where we can like kind of run out in one of their front yards, if that makes sense. So we get there, and I like put my hands on my knees like this, and I'm breathing heavy, and I'm crying, and Aubrey's like, Megan, what was that? What the fuck was that? And I'm like I can't breathe, because I don't think she saw it. If I'm wrong, Aubrey, correct me in the comments. I don't think she saw it, but I'm out of breath, like crying, and I'm like, Aubrey, I'm gonna throw up. I can't catch my breath. And she's like trying to hold me and like walk me down the court, because basically I live on courts, and so we were trying to get to the end to get like to the main thing, if that makes sense. If you guys want me to, I can like always pull up a map and explain it, but that's like, I don't know. And so we're walking, and I'm not even joking. You can tell. I'm just looking back every single second. I'm like, I'm not joking. I tell Aubrey, you look forward, I'll look back, because we need to make sure like that wasn't someone real. Even though deep down, I knew it wasn't, because he was right there. He was literally right there. I just heard something on my door. No one better try to scare me right now, because I will actually fucking kill someone. I'm actually scared. And thinking back to this, oh my god, now I'm hearing shit. We got back, and I'm like crying, and I don't even know what we do. Oh yeah, we come in my room, we sit down, still out of breath, and then that's when we kind of like calm down a little, because you know, we're in my room, we're safe, but we're still like looking around my room, like we don't want to leave my room. Like it was just so bad. I don't know, but whatever it is, we haven't gone back since. So yeah. But thanks for watching my story time, guys. If you guys want more, comment, because I have so many more, because stuff has happened in my house, at other people's houses, around my house, and yeah. So love you guys. Bye.